In this video, we'll continue our discussion about imaginary numbers. So our topic today will be operations involving imaginary numbers. I. Essential question will be, how do I perform arithmetic operations with I? So the first thing we'll look at is simplifying with I. We dove into this a little bit, but we'll kind of up our skills. So what we've already looked at is the idea that if I have the square root of a negative number, I can say that is the square root of 5 times the square root of negative 1. The square root of negative 1 becomes my I, and I just put that out front, and I still have my root 5. But we need to be able to do this when I can actually simplify the square root. So here we can't do anything with the square root of 5, but what if I can take the square root? So say I have the square root of negative 81. Well, we know the negative kind of turns into that I, so I still have the square root of 81. And then when I simplify, I get 9I. So when it's a radical, it'll follow the I. When the radical can simplify, we put it out front. So let's try a more complicated one. The square root of negative 32. Well, I can pop my I out front. Now I can break up the square root of 32. So I have I root 16 root 2. 16 times 2 is 32, and I found that perfect square that's a factor of 32. Now I can simplify the root 16, that's my 4. My I comes along, and I'm left with the root 2. So we just use our properties of square roots to be able to simplify factors of our original number. Factors of 32 are 16 and 2. I'm looking for those perfect square factors. And then I simplify the root 16 to make it 4. My I is coming along for the ride. And then I have left over that root 2, so root 2 remains root 2. Next, we can also do some combining of like terms. So combining like terms with I. And we'll just treat constants like terms, and we'll treat anything that has that I attached to it as a like term. So say I have 10 minus 7, 7i, 10 minus 7i, plus 6 plus 9i. Since it's an addition in the middle, there's nothing to like really distribute, so we can drop the parentheses. So I have 10 minus 7i plus 6 plus 9i. Now I'm just going to combine my like terms. I have the 10 and the plus 6, so 10 plus 6 would be 16. And I have my negative 7i plus 9i. Negative 7 plus 9 would be 2i. Now we've combined the like terms. Now if there is a negative in the middle, we'll have to deal with that. So let's do an example like that. Say I have 12 plus 5i minus 9 minus 2i. Well, when I have a negative in the middle, I just distribute that negative to each term following it. So the 12 plus 5i stays the same, 12 plus 5i. Now I'm distributing this negative. So that becomes negative 9. And I distribute the negative to that negative 2i, so that becomes plus 2i. And now I will combine like terms. 12 minus 9 is 3. 12 minus 9 is 3. And then positive 5i plus 2i would give us a 7i. Now we can distribute with I as well. Very important to realize is that I squared, so anytime I multiply I by I, will automatically equal negative 1. The radical kind of disappears. So anytime we multiply I times I, we'll get I squared. I times I is I squared, and that will equal negative 1. So say I had I times 3 plus I. I distribute the I, so I have 3i plus I squared. 3i just stays 3i, but now since I have an I squared, I know that I squared equals negative 1, so I can turn that into a negative 1. And we don't like plus and negative, so we'll say 3i minus 1. An example like this. I'll distribute my 2i to the 4i, so 2i times 4i would be 8i squared. Now I'm going to distribute the 2i to negative 3, so it's minus 6i. I squared becomes at negative 1, so I have I times negative 1. Bring down my minus 6i. And we can multiply I times negative 1. This is multiplication, so I have negative 8 minus 6i. Now let's do it when we have to deal with like multiple distributions. So let's say I have 4 minus I times 6 minus 6i. We would deal with this just like we did when we had x's involved. So I do 4 times 6, it's going to be 24. 4 times negative 6i, that's negative 24i. Now I distribute the negative I, so negative I times 6 would be negative 6i, and then negative I times negative 6i would be positive 6i squared. Now I need to simplify. I can combine my i's, and I know I squared is going to equal negative 1, so I have 24 minus 24 minus, I'm going to combine those, so it's going to be minus 30i. Combining my like terms, so minus 30i. And I'm going to convert that I squared to negative 1, so I have plus 6 times negative 1. So that's going to be a negative 6. I can go 24 minus 6, so that'll be 18 minus 30i. So that's 3 of the ways. There's a 4th way, but we'll get to that one when we get to class today. I want to keep this kind of short. So we will stop right here, and we'll add some more at our next session. But thank you for watching this video. Oh, one quick point. Let me get this. We can go into our summary. We'll do the same process, but if you see this, 3 plus 5i squared, remember to write that out. And that way we don't just automatically start squaring everything. We do anything squared is that times itself. So if I write it out, then I can see, oh, I have to do a lot of distributing to solve this. So, just wanted to point that factor out real quick. But thank you for watching this video, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.